You're watching TVC Breakfast. The dust over the $9.6 billion arbitration award is yet to settle as the federal government is working tirelessly to ensure that the decision of the UK court does not stand.
While the government demonstrates its openness to negotiate and meet the terms of agreement reached with genuine investors, it's reiterating that it is in no way willing to sell out the interest of Nigeria and its citizens. While Nigerians watch with bated breath, the federal government assures that it is willing to strongly avail itself with all necessary defenses available at its disposal.
Lawyer and public affairs analyst Fred Nzako joins me now to talk more on this. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast. Now, yesterday, when you look at the papers yesterday, it was agog with the headlines about the P&ID deal, talking about some headlines saying the government wants to negotiate, others saying the government wants to probe, into the activities of those involved in this contract. But for you, how would you evaluate the government's handling of this case so far?
Well, so far, I think we're waking up to the realities of what is happening. Nigeria had slept off, in the manner of speaking, with with this issue of P&ID. And because if you look at the details that we are getting from the media, because I have not seen the contract document, the details don't give anybody any inkling that that contract was meant to be executed in the first instance, because the whole ingredients of the contracts were lacking in the contract. To start with, it was a gas supply and processing agreement. Meanwhile, the source of the gas supply was not captured in the contract as we speak. The gas supply was to come from the oil mining licenses operated by ExxonMobil and then ADAX. Both companies were not captured in the contract. They were not part and parcel of the contract. And then you don't expect them to supply such gas, even though the gas was a property of the federal government, but there has to be an arrangement of the supply.
So all of this are what makes the contract fraudulent, so to speak?
Vitiated, completely dead on arrival. And if you call it a scam, the scam aspect comes where you begin to say that Nigeria will pay a whopping sum of 9.6 billion. I don't know what came into the head of the people that gave such judgment. And I want the country to approach it not only from the dimension of law. You should also approach it from the dimension of international diplomacy and raise very strong petition against that court before the Justice Ministry in England. Because from all intents and purposes, there was no contract in the first instance. There was no contract. Now, a contract was supposed to have timelines.
Absolutely.
Timelines. And what were the timelines? Who was supposed to do what at a particular point in time? So if the company is saying that Nigeria has not laid the pipeline to supply the gas, have they built the installation that will process the gas?
These are questions that needs to be answered. But then again, the activities of those that were perhaps mentioned in the contracts are Nigerian officials. Some have said that there's no need to probe their activities. But then isn't that giving room
the activities should be probed. But what we're saying is you first drive away the hawk before you begin to warn the chicken for straying away. We have a challenge, international challenge. Let's first face it. Solve it, sort it out, and then come back home and ask relevant questions, because we don't need to dissipate our energies in multiple directions. That was first away, drive away P&ID, which in the first instance did not have a contract. They didn't have a contract at all. As a matter of fact, Ministry of Petroleum Resources that signed a contract with them does not hold gas or any crude. Is a ministry that sets out the standards and the policies. NNPC was not completely involved in that. If the contract was, initially I thought it was between NNPC and P&ID. And when I found out it was federal government through Ministry of Petroleum, yes, it is part and parcel of government. Yes, questions should be asked, but in the nitty-gritty of the contract needs to be known and then looked into.
All right, Fred Nzako, thank you for your time on TVC Breakfast.
Many thanks.
You're watching TVC Breakfast. The dust over the $9.6 billion arbitration award is yet to settle as the federal government is working tirelessly to ensure that the decision of the UK court does not stand.
While the government demonstrates its openness to negotiate and meets the terms of agreement reached with the genuine investors, it reiterates that it is in no way willing to sell out the interest of Nigeria and its citizens. While Nigerians watch with bated breath, The federal government assures that it is willing to strongly avail itself with all necessary defenses available at its disposal. Lawyer and public affairs analyst Fred Eziako joins me now to discuss this. Thank you so much for joining me.
Many thanks.
Let's look at the federal government's response to this. Are you satisfied with it?
Well, so far, the federal government has no option than to rescue Nigeria from such ill-fated debt, which in the first instance we never expected that it should be paid, because the way and manner the judgment came did not give any hope that it was duly processed.
Why do you think so?
And what I mean is, how on earth will somebody be paid for 20 years profit ahead of time?
Okay.
Does it mean that the business must make profit? What if the business incurs losses and then government will be paying for unseen profit? And then what have been put in place? Central Bank went ahead to say that P&ID had not invested a dime in Nigeria as far as their official records are concerned. So if the money came, that means the money came through the back door. And that is why government is looking at the possibility of looking into who caused this embarrassment to Nigeria.
Well, is it not too late in the day to be looking at that, to go further, to start probing this matter when we had enough time to address it?
It's agreed we had enough time to address it, but there was nothing on the table to be addressed, so to speak. There was exactly nothing on the table to be addressed. I personally blame those who even went to that arbitration, with due respect to His Honor Bayojo, who awarded $250 million against Nigeria in that arbitration, because there was no basis for that. There was exactly no basis for such an award. If such an award was to come in good faith, there was no basis, because the company did not do what they were supposed to do. Yes, Nigeria as a country, through the Ministry of Petroleum Resources, also did not do what they were supposed to do. So it was a contract that was completely vitiated and I could say not expected to have even been alive in the first instance. So I blame such an award. And then anybody who says Nigeria will now pay because we didn't pay then, now we are going to pay this amount, diplomatic action must be taken in this regard, because the court that awarded such humongous amount of money, I find no excuse or reason whatsoever for such an award against Nigeria.
Diplomatic action must be taken. So the federal government said it's going to negotiate with P&ID. Yes. Is that one of the ways we should go? Well, we need to negotiate, since you are saying that this award is not supposed to be.
The federal government now has boxed itself to a corner.
Okay.
Because what are they negotiating with P&ID? Except in the terms of the contract, because with due respect to them, I have not seen the contract. And in the terms of the contract weighs heavily against the federal government. If they were supposed to do certain things which would have given life to the contract, and they didn't. That is when you now say, oh, federal government was culpable.
Okay.
But if, going back all the information that we have, the P&ID company itself had even not done their own, because they have not put up any particular plant. And CBN has said that they have not seen any sign of a dime investment from P&ID. If they brought money in briefcases and bribes on Nigerian officials, that is where Nigerian government must look down and know who caused us this embarrassment, because it's a huge international embarrassment. Every investor would like to come into a country where laws are respected, so that if there
You're watching TVC Breakfast. The dust over the $9.6 billion arbitration award is yet to settle, as the federal government is working tirelessly to ensure that the decision of the UK court does not stand.
While the government